Hey guys, welcome to the skills session. We're going to go over the 14 questions that we had in class. First, I want to remind everybody what the elements of adverse possession are, because these 14 questions have to deal with adverse possession and the little intricacies between them. So, the elements of adverse possession: actual possession, continuous, adverse and hostile, exclusive, open and notorious, and it must be held for some statutory period. New York is 10 years, and we're going to be assuming 10 years when we go through these slides. Question 1. Question 1 is, in 2000, A enters adversely upon Blackacre, which is owned by O. In 2007, B tells A, "Get out of here, I'm taking over." A feels threatened and leaves. B enters into possession. 2010, who owns Blackacre? We know at first O was the owner, and A is trying to assert some type of claim over the property. A entered adversely. We know the statutory period for adverse possession is 10 years, but A's only been there for 7 years. So adverse possession wouldn't be available to A for another 3 years. What about B? It is 2010, and it is also true that O hasn't been in possession for 10 years. But for B to get ownership, B would have to add on A's 7 years to his own 3 to get 10 years. Tacking is allowed if privity exists. Any non-hostile nexus, i.e. blood, contract, but no privity when ouster occurs. So let's look at what tacking is. Tacking, the process whereby an individual who is in adverse possession of real property adds his or her period of possession to that prior adverse possessor. Well, that's exactly what we have here. A was a prior adverse possessor, but B came in, and B's only got 3 years. If he gets his 7 years from A, who's a prior adverse possessor, then he would get the 10 years. So that's exactly what B wants to do. So we're definitely talking about tacking. Now it says tacking is allowed if privity exists. So what is privity? A relationship between persons who successively have a legal interest in the same right or property. But remember, it said no privity if we have an ouster. So in 2007, when B came and said, quote, "Get out of here, I'm taking over," he not only kicked out A, but he ousted the privity with A. So since B isn't allowed to tack because he has no privity, then in 2010, B is not eligible to have ownership of Blackacre. It just doesn't have enough time. So who owns Blackacre? Well, it seems like by default, O is the only owner of Blackacre. Oh, it's not 2010. Who owns Blackacre? O. The answer is C. Question 2. In 2000, A adversely enters upon Blackacre, which is owned by O. In 2007, B tells A, "Get out of here, I'm taking over." A, feeling threatened, leaves, and B enters into possession. Can O or A eject B? As in before, the question really stayed the same. Only thing that changed was the call of the question. Well, since all the facts of the last question are identical, we came to the conclusion that A doesn't own Blackacre because A was only for 7 years, and B doesn't own Blackacre because B couldn't tack on A's 7 years because of the ouster. So the only true owner of Blackacre in 2010 would be O. So the question, can O or A eject B? Well, no doubt about it, O owns the property. We came to that conclusion in the last question. Same facts. The conclusion should still be the same. Well, what about A? Well, if the conclusions are still the same, then A has no right to the property because A didn't have enough time to obtain it through adverse possession. So at this point, it seems like only O can eject B. And that's our answer. The answer is B. Only O can eject. Question 3. On January 1st, 2000, A enters adversely upon Blackacre, which is owned by O. On January 1st, 2007, B tells A, get out of here. I'm taking over. A leaves under the threat of force, and B takes possession. But 6 months later, A recovers possession from B. So if O does nothing, when does A own Blackacre? Continuous, uninterrupted for the statute of limitations. When A was kicked out in 2007, well, January 1st, 2007, and that stopped his clock for adverse possession. He wasn't in possession for a continuous 10 years. But when he was able to regain possession from B, then the clock started again. So, if O does nothing, when does A own Blackacre? Well, in July 2007, that's when A regained possession. So if he's able to hold possession continuously, uninterrupted, for 10 years, then he'll be able to own the property outright in July 2017. The answer is C. Question 4. A enters adversely onto Blackacre, owned by O. In 2000, A abandons Blackacre, and B immediately goes into possession. If O does nothing, A owned Blackacre in 2010. So this seems to be testing continuous again. When it comes to continuous, we know for a fact A was in possession from 2000 to 2007, which is 7 years. But we have a requirement of 10 years. When A left, even though B came into possession, A will never own Blackacre because A only has 7 years of actual adverse possession. So when A abandons the property, and then when B came into possession, it wasn't continuous anymore. So if O does nothing, does A own Blackacre in 2010? Well, he needed 10 years. He only has 7. So no, an own Blackacre. The answer to the question is B. No, A will not own Blackacre. Question 5. In 1994, O owned Blackacre. A enters firstly upon Blackacre, which was owned by O. A year later in 1995, O dies, leaving a will. That will divides Blackacre to life to B and remainder to C. In 2010, B dies, never having entered the property. So who owns Blackacre? Well, let's do, instead of doing a vertical ownership tree, let's do a horizontal one. 1994, we know that O owned Blackacre. Well, in 1994, A started adversely possessing against O. So if everything stayed the same, in 10 years, A would own Blackacre in 2004. Then we know O died and left B a life estate. And that occurred in 1995. 2004, A, having been on the property for 10 years, obtained deed to Blackacre. 2010, B died. So, in 2004, A obtained the property. So that means in 2010, A would still own Blackacre. Because A started possessing when O was alive and had all the property. So A's been adversely possessing everything that O had. In 2010, who owns Blackacre? Well, A does. A's owned it since 2004. Question to the answer is A. Question 6. O owner of Blackacre dies in 1995. leaving a will that divides his black acre to B for life, remainder to C. In 1996, A adversely enters upon the land. 2010, he dies. So who owns Blackacre? Well, in 1996, when A started adversely possessing, it was against B, and B only had a life estate. So B's life estate extinguishes when he dies in 2010. So in 1996, because A started adversely possessing against B's life estate, 2010, when B's life estate extinguishes, so does A's interest in the property, which was only a life estate. So C would then have the property because the remainder was to C. So, who owns Blackacre? The answer is C. Question 7. O is the owner of Blackacre, dies in 1995, leaving to B for life, remainder C. 1996, A enters adversely upon the land, and in 2010, B dies. Not ousted. When does A own Blackacre? Well, again, we have the same scenario where A is adversely possessing against B, so he can only adversely possess what B has. So in 2010, when B's life estate extinguished, as we saw earlier, then A's ability to claim any ownership of the property extinguishes. A only had a life estate. So in 2010, even though C is awarded the remainder, A is still adversely possessing the property. So if this continued and A wasn't ousted from the property in 10 years, 2020, A would be able to receive title through adverse possession. So the answer should be D, 2020. Question 8. O owns and has been in possession of a 100-acre farm since 1975. In 1994, A entered the back 40 acres under color of an invalid deed from Z for the entire 100 acres. Since her entry, A has occupied and improved the back 40. A brings suit to evict O from the farm. What land can she successfully claim? Well, now we're talking about actual possession and exclusive possession. So, O is actually on the property. It's not being adversely possessed. O lives there. So A can take the property that she actually possesses because she's adversely possessing against O, which is the back 40. But the property that O's actually on, she's not able to take through adverse possession. He's in possession of it. She is not. So the answer to the question should be D, the back 40. Question 9. O owns a 100-acre farm since 1975, but O doesn't live there. A entered into the back 40 to the valid deed that he got from Z. And the invalid deed was for all 100 acres. So we have now resolved the two problems that we had before. A can take everything because A is taking it under color of title. Remember, if the person is acting in color of title, they can take the whole thing. But if A didn't have this invalid deed, he would only be restricted to his only 40 acres, the one that he's in actual possession of. A will get the 60 acres and the back 40 acres that she occupies because A is taking it under color of title. So what land can she successfully claim? Well, the whole 100 acres because O's not there. Question 10. Two contiguous lots, 1 and 2, owned by X and Y, respectively. Two lots are conveyed by invalid lead from Z to A. A enters lot 1 and occupies. Subsequently, A sues X and Y to quiet title for lots 1 and 2. What plots can A successfully claim? Well, Since there are two different lots, we have to have two different analyses. Each lot must satisfy the requirements of adverse possession. Two separate pieces of property. So, he has conveyed an invalid deed for both pieces of property to A. But even if you have an invalid deed, you must still satisfy the elements for adverse possession. Now, since these are two separate pieces of property, 1 and 2, and not just one piece of property, the elements for adverse possession must be settled for both, each piece of property. Well, here, A lives here. A is on this property. A is in physical possession. So since A is in physical possession of the property, holding everything else to be true, A could make a successful claim for plot 1. But for plot 2, even though A has a deed, A is not in possession of this property. A is only in possession of property 1. A cannot gain this particular piece of property. A hasn't fulfilled all requirements of adverse possession. The answer is A. Only plot 1. Question 11. O is the owner of Blackacre in 1995, but he's insane. A enters adversely on May 1st, 1995, and O dies insane in 2008. H is O's heir and has no disability in 2008. So, when would A acquire title? Well, since O died in 2008, O's disability also stopped. Remember, for the rule for tolling, we had to add 5 years to the end of the disability, which is 2008. So in 2013, A should be able to acquire title. The answer is C, 2013. O was the owner in 1995. O was insane. A entered adversely on May 1st, 1995. O dies insane and intestate in 2008. O's heir H, 6 years old in 2008. H reaches age of majority in 2020. When would A acquire title? Well, we have the same scenario here again. 2008 is when O passed away, and if we add 5 years to it, then in 2013, A would get title. Since you only have to add 5 years to the end of the disability, in 2013. Title. And the answer is B. O is the owner in question 35, and O has no disability in 1995. A enters adversely May 1st, 1995. It's worth noting that if nothing else happens, adverse possession would mature in 2005, making A the owner after 10 years. O then dies in 2004, and O's heir H is only 2 years old. 2004. H reaches age of majority in 2020. But the question is, when would A acquire title? Remember, A started adversely possessing in May 1995 when O had no disabilities. So her adverse possession would have matured in 2005. Even though you have a series of events that happened in between that, you have 1995 plus 10 years. 2005, A would acquire title. Oh, the answer is A, 2005. Question 14. O is the owner in 1995. O is 8 years old in 1995. A enters adversely on May 1st, 1995. O becomes mentally ill in 2002. O reaches the age of majority in 2005. O dies intestate in 2011. O's heir H is under no disability. When would A acquire title? Well, in 1995, O was under the disability of infancy. Remember, it's only one disability at a time. And in 2005, O reached the age of majority. Because of the disability, any requirement was told. So in 2005, we'll add 5 years to the end of the disability, giving us 2010 as the date that A would acquire title? And the answer is B, 2010.